In communities of color, we too often ignore mental health issues. Most people of color believe if they see a counselor, then they are admitting to being crazy or possibly weak. There is also the idea that counselors of color do not exist. Today, we discuss the stigmas and fears in the African American community associated with those in the helping field.
Welcome to Intake. I'm Bertha Barrett, your host. I am always here with my beautiful hosts. Say your names, please.
Jules Jean-Pierre.
Shauna Sopko.
Ladies, today we are talking about mental health in the African American community.
Yes.
So one of the problems in the African American community is poverty.
Right.
And poverty levels affect mental health status. African Americans living below the poverty level as compared to those over twice the poverty level are 3 times more likely to report psychological issues or distress. And so there are a lot of poverty-stricken communities with African Americans, and while we do have a lot of African American celebrities who've made it, they've come from these different communities, and thank God they've made it out. But we do have youth still struggling with the stress of just being in their skin and then living into poverty. So, ladies, what you want to add to that?
There's also disparities in access to treatment
Yes.
and insurance as well. I mean, we don't want to forget that.
Well, it's in there's a direct correlation with the poverty level and physical health with suicidal ideation.
Yes.
Mental health overall. So I actually have some very interesting statistics.
Go for it.
I just wanted to share these. Depression with in males of color. Between 2001 and 2015, suicide risk of African American boys aged 5 to 11 was 2 to 3 times higher than Caucasian boys the same age. And that continues all the way. That trend continues through adolescence. And really what this whole report was about was that depression and suicidal ideation has been showing up at an earlier and earlier age in African American little boys. Like, I mean, 5 years old. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is.
I think, too, the stigmas within African American communities, they're just all over the place. Yep. A lot of times, parents, unfortunately, based off how they were parented, they lose the concept of validation with the children. Let me just be real, guys. Let me just be real. Y'all know how I am. So in my generation, when you got whippings, you got whippings. And that was in extension cords, that was switch, and you had to go pick your own switch. And you better not come back with a small one. You better get a good one and a thick one. Hello. Parents look at that as just discipline, but that's a traumatizing event. And I meet too many African American people, adults now, who are bitter and and just trying to keep up this facade of, okay, I went through this, but I'm gonna make it because I'm strong and I gotta do it and I gotta keep pushing. And they're breaking down and don't know why they're breaking down, because that's what we're taught. Just be strong and keep moving and forgive and go on. And they never ever address it. And so a lot of times they have all of these emotions balled up in them that they themselves don't understand.
There might even be issues where of the same instance where an individual is has experienced that, but what was more on the abusive side, and they may have worked through it, or at least they thought, and that can come out in control.
Yeah.
And so there's that misconception that if I am able to accomplish this, that, and other, and we also see that in substance abuse, where we have the functioning alcoholic, when things are not lost, I must be okay.
Yeah.
So you have an instance where somebody has dealt with some trauma, but my kids are doing well, they're in school, so they must be okay. But then you look at what's going on in your family. they're not connected. They're
Right.
not talking.
Right.
There's some control that's going
Right.
on. So there's a problem there that nobody's addressing.
Yeah.
And that I can't imagine how difficult that would be to have that going on at home where there's no validation of how you're feeling and when you're struggling with something, and it's just kind of a suck it up kind of a mentality. And then as an African American person going out into society and being discriminated against
Right.
and having that going on, and so not being able to be okay and yourself and just breathe anywhere.
Yeah.
That had to be that, and that, I know that's I know we talk about this all the time, but that's why you just got to suck it up and keep going, because that's how you survive, right?
Yeah.
You go into survival mode.
They talk about it, and I, will admit, as far as the book itself, I don't have enough knowledge of it, but I have it, and it's on my to-read list. But post-traumatic stress syndrome, and as a result of that, there's a certain way that individuals act because of what you just said, that this is what I've gone through, but yet there's no validation, so therefore I act as such. And I can't wait to get into that book this summer.
Yeah, but what I want to talk about, guys, is the depression among African American elders. Right. Because they do know what it's like to be in the 60s. They do remember those days of having to pick cotton. And I know because I've talked to my elders, and they do know what it's like to be having to work in the field while children in a white bus, and white children in a bus pass them and spit on them and call them nigger. And so they do know that, and in African American communities, Christianity is very strong, and so we're just taught to forgive. And we forgive it, but we never forget, and neither do we deal with it, and so there's these issues. And so, my parents are no longer here, and I miss them dearly. But I'm thankful that I don't hold anything against them because of what they did, because I've come to understand that they did only what they knew. And how can you be angry with someone when that's all they knew?
Right.
And so I matured in that level, but so many other people don't mature. And we have so many African American elders who are still depressed because they never dealt with all the discrimination that they saw and all of that time. And so they're dealing with depression, and they don't get help. They really don't. And I know quite a few of them, they don't get help, and so for them, and you all know me, I'm a very spiritual being. I'm a Christian woman. I love Jesus with all of my heart. And so the church becomes our way of coping. That is true. The church becomes our way of coping. And we go to church and we praise God, but at the same time, we still go home and we have this heavy load on us that we ourselves cannot understand. That's a lot of elderly people, in the African American community, because they remember, the roughness that we had to go through. And we need to start addressing these issues and getting elderly people some help. And most of them are on Medicaid, which is another issue. Because this whole thing of Medicaid, a lot of people don't take Medicaid when it comes to mental health. And so they don't get the help that they're needed.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, if you want to talk about those individuals in the elder community, I already talked about how there's that stigma of going. That's around their time. And also there's trauma associated, because you talked about discrimination, but to be quite honest, there's also lynchings. And they had to see that. And it wasn't hidden. They just wasn't able to say about it. But they saw that. And that's traumatic to see a body hanging and know that could be you. Because that was the purpose of it, to entice fear. So there's unaddressed trauma because we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. There are so many things that, and Shauna, I know this is a tough conversation for you.
It's not. It's not. No, that's why I'm here. I mean, that's
when I say tough, because you get emotional sometimes when you hear some of the things, and that's okay. But what I love with this show and with you ladies, especially you, Shauna, is because you are, and there are a lot of Caucasian people out there who are willing to have conversations, but they're not enough. who are really willing to have these conversations and understand that there is something going on in the African American community that we need to address. A lot of people say, well, maybe if we were given that, what is a mule and an acre, then things would get better. I don't think that's the case. I think what we need to do is we need to deal with the issues at hand, face them, start working more toward how we can, process and fix the issues that we've had to deal with, and validate ourselves and just be aware of who we are and just keep moving. Well, I don't want to say keep moving. I hate that. Keep moving. Just learn, to
live better.
To live better. Yeah, that's true. Just learn to live better.
I wanted to say, when it comes to Shauna, what I appreciate the most is that it's like she walks the walk when it comes to, how you express the understanding of sadness. That's what it is. It's not, don't do that.
Yeah. That's okay, though. Yeah, this is what this show is about. Because we do need to bring more awareness. Y'all, this is our job. This is what we do. We advocate. I just want to say this, as counselors, we advocate for our clients. And we look for resources to give our clients. I think this platform has allowed us to go into various communities and be able to talk about issues so that we can reach more people in advocating with mental health. I think the website and connecting and networking with other organizations of how we can list more resources on our website so people, when they do watch the show, they can go to the resource page and look for things. It matters because that's what we do. We got to take a break. You all stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Intake, and today we have with us Mr. Anthony Countryman. Anthony is an entrepreneur and business owner in Jacksonville, Florida. He currently owns a handyman company, and he's here today to discuss with us what it's like to be an African American man in today's society. Welcome, Anthony. How are you?
Welcome.
How y'all doing?
Doing great. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Good. So, first of all, can you just give us a little history about you? As a businessman, tell us what you do.
First off, we renovate homes. We remodel them, turnkey them, make them look new again. We do everything from tile to the ceiling, everything. We've been in for 14 of major property management companies here in Jacksonville, like Watson Realty, Cindy 21, Preservation Pros. I can keep going.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Very nice. So my first question to you is, you're a businessman and you have a history with being incarcerated.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Talk to me about that, what it's like to have been incarcerated and then come out, try to find employment, and take the big step that you've done with owning your own business.
Well, in my case, to me, I'm a little bit special because some people get in positions based on who they know. Mm-hmm. Some people get in positions based off of how hard they work. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the ones who work hard to get where I'm at. Mm-hmm. It's all determination, and it's all in the individual and the desire of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I spent 3 years of my life in prison, and that whole time I spent in prison, I spent it telling myself I'd never come back to this place. Mm-hmm. My mom she never realized it yet. I made a promise to her. She made me make a promise to her that I'd do right, for as long as she lived. Mm-hmm. And ever since I made that promise, I've been doing right, I grew up in trouble. I grew up in the system. DCF.
DJJ. Yeah, DJJ.
I spent a lot of time there. DDC. I spent a lot of time in the county jail. I grew up rough. I grew up going through it. Looking at me, you might not be able to see that, but yeah, I've had my fair share of trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
But you've overcome very well.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you do that in today's society?
Again, I'm a different type of person. I can't sit here and answer that question how I do it as an African American male. I can tell you how I do it as an individual.
Go for it.
Because the way I feel like it's not about what color you are anymore. How you can present yourself to be worth something
Okay.
to the next person.
I love it.
Like for instance, I'm a convicted felon. I work for CSX. Almost unheard of. And I traveled with the governors, former presidents. I've cooked for these people, shook their hands with them, and spent time with them. I cooked for the Jaguars. I've been in some of the richest people's houses. We've been servicing $1 billion now. My company cleaning for the past 3 years. Again, and he know about my history. The thing is, again, it's not about the color of your skin. It's about your desires and where you want to be at in life.
Very nice. Unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of young men your age, don't feel the same way. And how do you get over this idea? And I don't mean to offend anybody out there. How do you get over this idea of I'm living in a white man's world and they're trying to hold me down?
Okay.
Because we've all heard it. Am I wrong?
We heard it.
I hear it a lot. I get guys come to me all the time like, man, I know you done did a lot of time, spent a lot of your time behind bars, your life behind bars. And you always stay with a hustle. You always stay with a good job. You always stay doing something. One time I was locked up in a place called Tiger Success here in Jacksonville when I was younger. And the Dean of Boys, he put me in his office and he showed me a plaque one day, and I could see it as if he's showing it to me right now. That plaque read, "An excuse is a tool of incompetence. Those who use them are seldom successful." Ever since I read that, that has totally, pointed me in a different direction of life. If you want something, go for it,
Yeah.
Hey, stop making excuses, just do it. Faith without works is void,
Yeah.
It's all in the individual. I can't, answer that question as a racial aspect anymore. We just had a black president, so
Yeah.
I think we done broke that barrier.
Okay. Very nice. All right. So, Anthony, are there any stressors that you have had to try to overcome, for one, from your background, being in the system, and just being who you are? And how do you overcome them stressors and deal with them?
When I first got home, I went to school to become a dental assistant. I used to be a dental assistant for Charles Barker. I thought I slipped between the sloops, because I presented myself. Even when I was doing my hours, they ended up firing 2 people because I took the place, me by myself, of 2 of the staff members that was there. And then they went from private nonprofit to a corporate nonprofit, and that comes with different rules and different ordinances. So they ended up firing me, and they only fired me because I'm a convicted felon. After that, I think that's the only job after that I can remember that, I've had or even tried to get that I had a problem with. Any other job that I went for, I've always been able to get that job.
And that one was a direct result of the conviction that you couldn't work there anymore when they took it over.
Yes,
Is that what
ma'am.
happened? I gotcha. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's actually quite amazing. That because I know for a lot of people, it follows you forever, and it can be a source of frustration and anxiety and cause depression and cause a lot of people to give up. And you have not had that experience, which I think is a huge, it says a lot about you and your character and your strength.
I'm not going to say I never had the experience that I don't want to give up, but not going to give up. It's a difference.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's exactly why I brought it up, because some people do, a lot of people do, and that's why the recidivism rate to going back in is so high, because it's like, well, I'm hitting a wall out here. I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to go back to pretty much what got you there in the first place. But I think that speaks volumes for you. It's awesome.
I think it's also fair to say too that individuals who go through a process where they go through the prison system and then they come out, there is no real, and you could attest to that or not, rehabilitation for them. There isn't anything that really says, okay, so now you've been in this for so long, and so we pull you out and we put you here, and so all of a sudden now you can swim.
I beg to differ.
That doesn't make any sense. Go ahead.
Operation New Hope.
Okay.
They have Operation New Hope is one of the major programs here in Jacksonville for convicted felons. In the prison system, they offer you libraries, they offer you books, they offer you time. You're there. You know, you might as well say you're in college, but you're behind bars.
Okay.
You have opportunity. The thing I used to say to myself all the time, the worst thing that they could ever have done is gave me the opportunity to sit down. You get what I'm saying? They gave me the opportunity to sit down, look at life, analyze it, and realize what I want, and set my goals from there. Again, it's all in the individual. Being a convicted felon is just a stigma. It's there, but if you're able to get yourself in front of people, like right now, I'm a convicted felon. I've been for Home Depot, or I was Home Depot, Central 21, Preservation Pros, and I can keep going on down the list. I just met one of my clients for the first time that we've been there for about 6 months, and I just met the owner for today. She was surprised to find out after talking to me for about 45 minutes that I was the owner of my company. And she's like, oh, wow, conversation from there. Again, it's all in the individual. Nobody can stop anybody that wants to do what they want to do. And that's just a fact.
I think it's important to highlight what you're saying, that it's all in the individual, because
Right.
you do seem to have a different mindset, at least from what I can tell in speaking to you, and a different perception. But you have some individuals who actually do go into the prison system multiple times, and the perception is when they come out, they're still in that prison system, and that is based on the individual person.
That's because that person is insane. That's because that person needs more help than what's given to them. Being locked up doesn't always help an individual. They don't offer like persistence. Just because you go to jail, that don't mean you get help. You get what I'm saying? Just because you go to prison, that don't mean there's things offered to you like therapists. You get what I'm saying?
That's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm
That's
talking
what,
about.
yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Everything in that situation, you're alone. It's your way of survival. Again, I'm not the type of person to make excuses for anybody. I talk to guys on a regular basis about the same thing, especially to guys that has never been locked up before. It's guys out there that never been locked up before in worse positions than I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so again, then I know guys that been feds that's multimillionaires right now.
Yeah.
So again, it's all in the individual. It's no more white man. It's no more I'm being held down. That it's no more. It's none of that. It's all in the individual. And again, growing up, I've been everything but. I've been through it. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot. So anything somebody got to say to me, any excuse that a guy have for me, I can't empathize with that, because I've been through the fire, and it's all again an individual.
If I may cut you off, what I hear is, like I said, you're a person who has a different perspective, and with what you were giving us, the little tidbits about you as a child, that stuff was coming out. That's why, from my perspective, and I could be wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong, it's coming out as you're a child because there's nothing else to do but to act out.
Right.
One. And then two, the other thing about it is, I would beg to differ with you when it comes to there's no more white man, because that's almost gaslighting an individual, and we have to be careful of that, because no, we're not going to use it as an excuse as to why you can't do something, but let's make it known that there is definitely things out there intentionally to keep people out, and there are individuals who are struggling with things that have been going on generationally that they don't even know about.
Can I tell you something? and I'm gonna say this. I say this, that there's no more white man excuse. There's no more, and this is why I say that, because in my lifetime, in my 31 years of being on this earth, the most knowledge and the most help I've got is from a white man. It's from a white man. Every one of us that I've stepped to have always pushed me away, denied me, lied to me.
I believe you.
Yeah, and again, I can't sit here and say it's the white man because we do that to ourselves in more ways than they can
I
ever do.
totally agree. You've just hit a nugget with me. I totally agree. We do, unfortunately, as African Americans, we do, try to keep each other down. But
why?
But why? Exactly. Why? I mean, Jules and I, most people would think you have two African American women right here on a show together. They should be bickering together. Bickering.
Bickering.
Thank
got
you.
you.
They should be bickering together, but we're not. And so I agree with you that it's the mindset of the individual, and I would say that you're just blessed enough to have the perception that you have. I'm just being real with you. But to say that other African American men are just making excuses, you can't say that until you walk in their shoes. Now, let me just say this to you, and I understand you've gone through what you've gone through, okay? But everybody perceives, you and I had this conversation before, everybody perceives differently. And so again, gratefully, your perception is different. Because, and I wrote it about it in my book before, and that is what happens when you have two children that come from the same parent, the same community, and one make it out and become successful, and the other one stay there at that level and make excuses. What's wrong? They come from the same family. You see what I'm saying? The difference is one's perspective is different than the others.
You know what? I appreciate what you're saying because there's passion behind it. You're gonna feel it from me, but it has nothing to do with you because these are things that I hear, and that is your perception from what you've been given within this community. Like that's what it is. It's like if you see somebody who doesn't get up, because we are taught to go, go, go. Because if you don't go, 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 you're either gonna get whipped by the slave master or whatever have you. So it's like get up and move. And so we've done that, but we've gotten up and moved so much that we forget about the psychological aspect and not taking care of that. So when you look at somebody who just absolutely can't do it, you think, oh, you lazy. You need to get up. Like I'm getting up. I don't have much, but I'm getting up and I'm doing something with it. And it's like, that person physically can't even get up to brush their teeth. That's what it feels like. Like something is sitting on their chest and they cannot get up. They want to, but they can't. If you're looking for more information about a topic that was discussed on one of our shows, please visit intake.tv and check out our resource page.
If you're a professional who would like to be on the show, or an individual who has struggled with mental health and would like to be a guest, email us at info@intake.tv.
Follow us on all of our social media platforms.
Intake is the place to be.
It's because